Well, if you wanted simplicity in the run-up to the final day of the season, this is certainly not the league for you. Yes, welcome along to this week's Women's Football Chat, and my word, has there been chaos this week with unexpected postponements on the penultimate weekend of the season has left teams scrambling to find neutral venues to host games this week before the final day of the season on Sunday. It was a wet second half of the season that nobody really expected to be quite as bad as it was, and it has just wreaked havoc across the league, with teams at very short notice having to try and find neutral venues somewhere between the two that met the ground criteria, that was able to be booked at such short notice, and with all the travel expenses in and amongst that as well. But we've got, well, I would say so much to talk about, but in terms of results, we really haven't. There were just 9 games over the past 7 days to go through, and 2 of those were hastily rearranged midweek fixtures. But we're going to start with the news, and the news this week, we have another team joining the FAWNL for next season. That is Real Bedford ladies, who won at the weekend, beating Luton by 3 goals to 2. And they will be in the FAWNL next season into Division One South East. So congratulations to them. We look forward to covering you on the show next season. But of course, this is the show dedicated to the FAWNL, so let's get straight back to it with the 6 divisions that it covers. We will start with results in the Northern Premier Division. This league, of course, all wrapped up already. Derby County beating Liverpool Feds by 4 goals to 3, but very nearly throwing away a 4-goal lead. They were 4 up at the hour mark. Goals from Kira Ray in the 39th minute, Amelia Wilson 47th, Amy Sims 55th, and Dulcie O'Connor in the 60th put Derby in cruise control. But Bethany Donoghue had something to say about that, with goals in the 62nd and the 63rd, 2 quick fire ones to make it very nervy for Derby. And then in the 92nd minute, she completed her hat-trick. The Liverpool Feds just not quite able to get themselves over the line and get a point out of the game in what was, though, to be fair, a complete nothing game, as they all are now in the Northern Premier Division. Convincing victory for Stoke City against AFC Fylde, winning by 5 goals to 0. They took the lead for Rosine Cavell in the 14th minute. Then Isabel Binks was sent off for Fylde just 1 minute later. So Fylde had to play 75 minutes of this game with just 10. Other goals to Stoke, who made the extra player advantage count, came, well, very quick fire, to be honest, in front of half-time. Shannon Stamps, 41st minute, Alice Higginbottom, 43rd, in at half-time, 3-0 up. Straight into the second half, Heidi Logan, 46th minute, made it 4-0. Game was done before Sophie Tudor in the 59th minute added a 5th. And then there was one game last night, again, neutral venue, as Halifax again have to travel because they struggle with their pitch. The game at the weekend against Wolves was postponed. It was moved to last night, where Halifax beat Wolves by 2 goals to 1. Same scoreline. They beat Forest on another neutral venue last week. And goals here, Lucy Sowerby in the 37th minute, Georgia Stevens in the 62nd, and an own goal for Wolves on the hour mark. So 37th minute, Halifax go in front. Wolves pull back on the hour mark. They're level for just 2 minutes. And then Stevens puts Halifax back in front again. What that means for the Northern Premier Division table is that Halifax are up a couple of places and into the top half. They have had a brilliant April. I suppose that game was in May, wasn't it? That Wolves game. But they had a brilliant April and towards the end of the season. They're up 2 places into 6th as Feds drop down 1. Derby go up 1 to 8th, and West Bromwich Albion drop a couple of places down to 9th. But of course, the Northern Premier Division is all done and dusted in terms of ups and downs. So that's the situation in the north. There were no games scheduled for the Southern Premier Division, so that's all exactly the same as it was last week. There was one game scheduled for Division One Midlands, Peterborough against Leek Town, but that also got postponed, and that game is tonight, which could have implications towards the bottom of the table, but can't actually send Leek down. So again, nothing to talk about in Division 1 Midlands either, because there were no games there. So we're going to move straight through to Division 1 North, where there were 3 games, 2 at the weekend and 1 last night. So Chester Street Town 2, Chorley 5. Goals in this one then. Chester Street Town really backs against the wall at the moment now. Jenny Ashton with 2 goals in that one. Can't find times here on any of these. Millie Fitzpatrick with a hat-trick. Saffron Newhouse and Laura Walker also with 1 for Chorley. Another very valuable point for York City, this time away at Stockport County. Jess Holder in the 52nd minute had put them in front before Lily Weston 12 minutes from time equalised for the home side. And that point could prove very important, as we'll look at in a moment. And then on Tuesday night, sorry, not last night, Hull City winning by 5 goals to 1 against Leeds United. Hull were 5-0 up in this game. 2 for Knight, 36th in the 78th minute, 1 for Linsky in the 41st, 1 for Brooks in the 65th, and 1 for Ackroyd in the 76th minute. Leeds did get a very, very, very late consolation in the 99th minute through Jessica Razu, but they were never going to come back from 5-0 down in stoppage time, and that means that Hull are champions of Division 1 North, and they will be in the Northern Premier Division next season after their victory there puts them 4 points in front of Middlesbrough, and with just 1 game left to go. Down towards the bottom, you can see why that point for York was so important, because they are now 3 points clear of Chester Street Town with just a game to go and a goal difference which is 15 better. So in order for Chester Street Town to avoid the drop on Sunday, they have to win, hope York City lose, and have a 15 goal swing. So you are talking along the lines of an 8-0 win and a 7-0 loss. And you know, it's looking unlikely that that is going to happen. We will look at all the fixtures later on, but you just get the impression that it is a tall order for Chester Street Town, given that big goal difference. If the goal difference was like 1 or 2, then you can go into that game with some hope that you might be able to turn it around. But 15 is a big ask for Chester Street Town. Let's move then into the Division 1 South East. Just 2 games to look at here. This week was always going to be a shorter week, because you had this was always going to be a week for teams to catch up with games that have been postponed. That's what the weekend was always about. So where nobody had to catch up, like in the Southern Premier Division, nobody played any games. And it's just caused all this chaos with some games getting postponed. So Cambridge United 2, Ashford Town 2. Goals here then, 2. Ruth Fox in the 16th minute and to Isabel Simmons in the 38th minute for Cambridge United. For Ashford, Alyssa Down in the 13th minute, and then Giuseppina Carnevale in the 86th minute. So very much, Ashford take the lead. Cambridge United equalise pretty quickly. Cambridge United then go in front, and Ashford get a late equaliser. Sorry, and then the other game again. In South East, everything is done because Wimbledon won the title last week. So Norwich City, yes, they beat Cheshire United by 6 goals to 1. There's a bit of too little too late against Wimbledon. So goals in this one. Hope Strauss in the 9th minute, Natasha Snelling in the 20th and the 73rd, Ellie Smith in the 40th, Lauren Hales in the 49th, and Holly Kennard in the 63rd. Goal for Chesham coming to Rebecca Bloor in the 86th. Discrepancy here between full-time and Norwich's Twitter. Full-time says Ellie Smith scored twice. Their Twitter says Snelling scored twice. In the end of the day, it doesn't really make a difference to anything. But the table, it does look exactly the same after a win for Norwich and a draw between Cambridge United and Ashford. So Norwich, they are 4 points away from Wimbledon, but Wimbledon, of course, have already got the title. We already knew Cambridge City and Hayward Heath Town were down. But regardless of what happens this weekend, you've got Wimbledon up, Norwich guaranteed second, Worthing guaranteed third. Queen's Park Rangers, Actonians and Ashford, there could be a little bit of movement there. Cambridge United, well, they would have to have a huge swing to climb up to 6th. They're going to be 7th. London Seawood are guaranteed 8th. Cheshire United and Sudbury could swap, but they're going to be 9th and 10th. And then the bottom two are the bottom two. So it is just a case of filling out the season for Division 1 South East. And then in Division 1 South West, one game postponed, Abingdon United against Keynsham Town. So the only game, Portishead against Exeter City, and Exeter winning this one by 5-0. Sarah Stacey in the 27th and the 60th minute. 2 for Georgie Marie Barbara Gresham in the 43rd and the 83rd, and then an own goal in the 70th minute as well. Made it 5-0 for Exeter. What it means for the Southwest table going into the final day is that Exeter City go back to the top. They are 2 points clear of AFC Bournemouth with just the one game to go. Of course, that is that crucial showdown at the top of the table between those two sides on Sunday at a sold-out Essex Park Sports Hub. And it is winner takes all, but it is advantage Exeter because a draw will see them up. So Bournemouth must win. Anything other than a Bournemouth win and Exeter will get into the Southern Premier Division for next season. After just missing out on goal difference last year, can they go one better this time around? The other game is down towards the bottom. Torquay United must win and hope Southampton Women's lose in order to stay up and their first season in Division 1 South West. But we'll see when we go into the fixtures in a few moments' time what that is going to look like. So, not a lot in terms of the results from the past 7 days, but there is plenty to talk about in the FAWNL. We now get to the point where we look at some discussion topics and some questions from you, our viewers and listeners, over the past week or so. I always ask at the start of the week for the questions, and well, this chaos has kind of made things very interesting because you look at, you know, Abingdon against Keynsham was on full time up until yesterday morning when it disappeared. And it is a nothing game, and it was meant to be Friday night, but it disappeared off full time. So not entirely sure what's going to happen with that game there. Particularly the Abingdon men's team have said that their women's team only have one game left, so perhaps they're just not going to play it. It doesn't have any impact on promotion or relegation. It doesn't have any impact on awards. So they might just not bother. But it would be strange that it's been put on full time and then taken off. Elsewhere that's interesting is that if you go on full time, the games this weekend we've got, obviously everybody is involved this weekend. In Southwest, it says that Torquay are hosting Swindon at the Devon County Football Association, which is Coach Road. Then on Twitter, Plymouth, who on full time, it says they're playing at the Mill, they have put on their Twitter that they have received permission from the FAWNL to play their game at Coach Road, which means we've got two teams supposedly playing at Coach Road on Sunday. Now, Torquay, this has obviously happened, and Torquay having to try and find somewhere to play is my deduction from this, because Torquay or Swindon for that matter haven't posted about this weekend's game at all yet at the time of recording. So it almost strikes me that that Plymouth have got the priority booking on there, and Torquay are now having to scramble to find somewhere to play, which is not the ideal preparation ahead of a must-win game in order to survive. So that's all a bit of a mess. Obviously, teams were having to try and find these venues at very short notice this week, and that was getting the fans a bit irate, because there was like 48 hours before the game, and we didn't know where the games were going to be played. I then put out when Peterborough said this is where it is, and they were making entry free to everybody. I said that's a great thing because everybody's having to travel, so that's great that Peterborough have done that. Peterborough then come back to me and say the league made us do that, and it's just been complete chaos. And it has stemmed, I feel, from the fact that the awards are at Wembley with the Women's FA Cup final a week on Sunday. And great that that's happening, but it has forced this extremely hard deadline on the end of the season. And okay, nobody expected these postponements on last weekend on the 28th. But it has just left everybody scrambling, going, oh my God, we've got to try and get the season finished. Okay, where is available? Where meets the grading criteria? Where's within an hour and a half? Which isn't a rule, by the way. It's kind of an indication, and it's not an exact science. It's not written in the rules that the games have to be within an hour and a half of each other. What is in the rules is that the board have the power to force a game to be played at a neutral ground. So if you take a game last weekend that was postponed, and the team that was meant to be at home said, no, we're having it at home, they can come the 2.5, 3 hours to us, we're not moving. There is no rule that says because they're more than an hour and a half away, it has to be neutral. But the FAWNL can come in and say, you have to play this game at a neutral venue because it's too far. And it's kind of a bit of common sense and at the board's discretion on that point. So that's what's left everybody scrambling, really, and what has caused this chaos over this week, where some teams have still got games to play, their 21st game ahead of their 22nd. Some have had a week to prepare, some haven't. There's a game that's been on and it's now disappeared, and we're waiting to see what happens with that. All sounds a bit fun, really, towards the end of the season. But questions then coming in. Regular contributor to the show, Mark, has been on, and he says, with the possibility of two teams going unbeaten this season, who means they're talking about Exeter and Bournemouth, and not getting promotion, is it once again this time of year where we look at restructuring of the leagues, or is this too dependent on any major changes to tiers 1 and 2? This might need its own show. It might, but this week's show is quite short anyway because of the lack of results to go through and implications on the table. So we'll tackle it now anyway. Yes, I think two teams going unbeaten is obviously very rare, but may well happen this year, with Exeter and Bournemouth, kind of blitzing their league, so to speak, and not and one of them won't be rewarded with promotion. If Bournemouth end up winning that game, and Exeter, having missed out last season on goal difference to Cardiff, and then miss out this season by a point by only losing one game all season. I mean, it was 8 goals they missed out to Cardiff last season, and that was because Cardiff only conceded 13 all year, and both those sides only lost 2 last season. So if Exeter City, over the course of 2 seasons, lose 2 games in 2 seasons and miss out on promotion twice, they must feel as though they're the most unlucky team in the FAWNL. The problem with if you make it 2 teams going up is that then relies on 4 teams coming down, which means that as it stands at the moment, if you were to leave everything else the same, and let's just deal with tier 4 into tier 3, if you were to do that, you would end up with, of the 12 teams in tier 3, 5 of them would change every single season, and the bottom third of the table would get relegated every season. So you would end up then, let's just take a look at the south first of all. So you would have London Bees, Chatham, Billericay and Plymouth all going down, with obviously Portsmouth going up. As it stands at the moment, I know there's obviously the chance that Plymouth could leapfrog Cardiff, etc. But you would end up with 4 teams going down from there. And then from the north, you would end up with Fylde, Huddersfield, Stourbridge and West Brom, as it stands, going down. If you're in a league with just 12, 4 going down is too much. I mean, you only got to look at the men's game where they have 24, and in most of the leagues only 3 go down. In League 2 only 2. I know in League 1 there's 4, but so to have, if you were to scale that up, for example, and you made 4 go down out of here, that's the equivalent of having the bottom 8 go down in the men's game, which is far too much. So then you come on to does it need a complete restructure? Now, we've said for a while on this show that the Super League and the Championship, they need to go to 16 teams. And that will allow all of these teams, your Burnleys, your Forests, your Wolves, your Ipswichers, your Oxford, the ones that want to be in those top 2 and have got the finances on the most part to go into the top 2, can make their way up there. And that, in my view, that would then leave the FAWNL. Yes, it would still be amateur unless some teams would go to semi-pro because they're maybe in 5-6 years time, around 2030, something like that. You could look at maybe making then the top 2 leagues up to 18, maybe up to 20, and start to filter these teams through as the attendances get bigger, the calendar gets better, and it becomes much more of an established league, like, let's be honest, it would be had the women's game not been banned for 50 years. So I don't think at the moment we can have this promotion and relegation increasing. I think it's just an unlucky factor of where we are at the moment. The other thing you've got to watch is you've got to still keep 2 going down from tier 4 into tier 5, because there are tier 5 teams. We have seen this year, if we just have a look at the teams in the relegation zones in tier 4, you've got in Division One Midlands, they are both surviving at the moment, but Notts County's goal difference is a lot lower than everybody else. In Division 1 North, the 2 teams that came up are going straight back down again. In Division 1 South East, they are going to survive just about. And in Division 1 South West, Torquay look likely to go down. So 3 out of the 8 have survived, or as it stands at the moment with a game to go, 5 out of the 8 teams that have come up are going to survive, and only 3 of them are going straight back down. So, but you want to make sure that stays sustainable there. What you don't want is to double the amount of teams coming up. You can't have 16 teams coming up, because I think on the whole, that would then leave most of them going back down again. So it does need a restructure. How long it's going to be until we get a restructure, I don't know. But hopefully it's not going to be too many more years, because we have got teams like this, in particular when you've only got 1 going up. Exeter City have only dropped 2 points all season. They're in the driving seat. And as I'm going back to my original point there, they lost 2 games last year. Granted, if they don't go up this year, they would have to have lost 3. But if you've lost 3 games in 2 years and don't get promotion, that's incredibly unlucky. And it's going to be a great game down there. But I don't think increasing the promotion spots is the answer at the moment. The last time we had loads of relegation and promotion slots like that was when we were trying to balance the leagues out, because some had 11 teams, some had 13, and it was all a bit of a mess. So, yeah, I think restructuring needs to happen. I don't think we can do more promotion and relegation than we're already doing in the FAWNL. So another question we've had in this week comes from Winnie Wynn, who says, as a Forest fan, does Carly Davis deserve another season? I think not. Also, Rebecca Swaryuk at Burnley has been disappointing. Both had a goal of promotion and both blamed anything but themselves for their failure. So quite a strong opinion there from Winnie. And it is an interesting one because, as they say there, both of those sides would have had a goal of promotion. But of course, only one could have got it. But with Newcastle in the league as well this year and going fully pro, kind of, in my opinion, almost gave everybody else a free pass to give it as good a go as they can, but knowing that the fully professional side are likely to be the ones that get the promotion at the end of the day. Newcastle, they've drawn twice. One was against Halifax when they'd already won the league, and the loss was against Forest. There was one other draw in there. But I think these teams, whilst they wouldn't necessarily have got promotion, they may feel they should be closer than they are to Newcastle. We take Forest, for example. There are games this season, as I suppose any team does have, but there are games this season they will have felt they should have won and got more points than they have. Two spring immediately to mind for me. One a couple of weeks ago when they're 3-0 up away at Wolves on the hour mark and lose 4-3. And there is another one where, particularly given the table, you've got the home game at the City Ground against Derby earlier on in the season when they lost 2-1, going 2 goals behind in the first 10 minutes. There's then the draw at Pride Park, but away from home with a big Derby crowd. That's more understandable. You look at games where they really should have won, even if you just take those 2 games, the Wolves and the Derby game at the start of the season, that puts you on 50 points. You're only 6 behind a fully professional side. But ultimately, they're 12 points back. Burnley are 8 points back. It did, in my view, everyone got a free pass this season. They are the teams that are always in and amongst it. Forest won the league last year, then lost in the playoff final. Wolves won the league 2 years ago, lost to Forest on goal difference last year. They've dropped down to 4th this year. Burnley are always there or thereabouts. I think next year, when there's no championship side coming down into the Northern Premier Division, because both teams relegated are in the south, so Rugby Borough are going to be moving up. Now, Rugby Borough have had a good season in the Southern Premier Division, so that's going to be tricky as well. You're going to have 4 teams in Burnley, Forest, Wolves and Rugby, not to mention anybody else in the league that ups the investment ever so slightly and boosts their investment and their ability on the pitch. It's going to be a very difficult league next year. It's as I said last week when Mark asked me, is what's going to be, out of the 2 Tier 3 leagues, the most difficult one to get promoted out of? And I still think it's going to be the Northern Premier Division, because there are so many strong teams in there. Yes, the goal is promotion. If you just miss out on promotion, is that the fault of necessarily the coach? I do think they need more time in terms of, as I said, I think this season was a free pass. But it will be interesting to see what happens if results don't work for them, particularly in like the first half of next season, for example, what will happen there. But yes, thank you for your comment, Winnie, particularly on YouTube. If you do want to get a question or discussion topic in for next week's show, then either on Twitter at WFootballChat or via the YouTube comments is a good place to do it as well. So plenty there that we can delve right into, particularly through the summer. The summer knockout tournament is coming, but alongside that, it's just going to be news and discussion throughout the summer. So let's then have a look at the final round of fixtures. in the FAWNL for this season. Some of these will race through because the league's already done. Some we're going to really dive into. So, starting the Northern Premier Division, everything's done here. So, Burnley against Derby, it's at Turf Moor again, but nothing is on any of these games in the north. Halifax against Fylde, Huddersfield take on Stourbridge, Liverpool Feds against Wolverhampton Wanderers, Nottingham Forest against Stoke City, and West Bromwich Albion against Newcastle United. Moving through into the south again, everything is done in the Southern Premier Division. Cardiff against Oxford United, Chatham against Rugby Borough, Cheltenham take on #United, Ipswich take on Billericay Town, Plymouth Argyle take on Milton Keynes Dons, and Portsmouth face London Bees. Now, interestingly here, and I'll come on to it again later, the chaos that we've had around getting these midweek games in and sorting out the final day of the season, everything like that, has just wreaked havoc, because Plymouth put on their Twitter that the FAWNL have said they can play at Coach Road, which is where Torquay was supposed to be playing. Torquay haven't posted about where they're playing, neither of Swindon. So they're supposed to both be playing at Coach Road, and it's all a bit of a mess. And then we've got games in South West that were there, now aren't there. Now teams are kind of hinting that they're not being played at all, and it's all a mess. But that's the situation in the South. If you want the Southern Premier Division table, there it is. Portsmouth are guaranteed to finish first, guaranteed to finish second, Rugby guaranteed to finish third. Ipswich and Oxford are going to finish fourth and fifth, we just don't know the order. Milton Keynes Dons are definitely going to finish sixth. Then Cheltenham and Cardiff could swap, Cardiff and Plymouth could swap, Plymouth and Billericay Town could swap. So a bit of movement in the bottom half. Chatham Town and London Bees already relegated. Division One Midlands is the interesting one, because there are 7 games to go with the season, and 6 of them have something riding on it. So, Peterborough against Leek Town tonight. That was a game that was meant to be the lone game on Sunday. Got postponed. It is now tonight at the Impact Arena, which is Alfreton Town's ground. Free entry for everybody. Mandated by the league on that one. I put out that Peterborough had made it free entry to everybody, commended Peterborough for doing that. They then came back to me and said, actually, the league have said we had to do that. The only game that doesn't have something riding on it is Boldmere St Michael's against Sutton Coldfield Town. The rest, Leek Town, Solihull Moors, Lincoln City, Loughborough Lightning, Northampton Town, Notts County. That's at Sixfields, regardless of what full time says that it's at Thurney Fields. As I said, it's all a bit of a mess at the moment. Peterborough United against Leafield Athletic and Sheffield against Sporting Cowser. Let's have a look at the Division One Midlands table, because this is where it all gets very interesting. So, fight at the top. Sporting Cowser against Loughborough Lightning. If Sporting Cowser win, they are practically up, because Loughborough Lightning, even if they win as well, the goal difference is 19 less. So unless Loughborough Lightning put 20 odd past Lincoln City, if Sporting Cowser win, they are up. Anything other than that, and it's wide open. Down towards the bottom, Leafield Athletic, Notts County, Sheffield, Leek Town, all could still survive and all could still get relegated. It is so tight at the bottom. Even if Leek Town lose to Peterborough tonight, they will still be in the fight on the final day of the season. So it's so tight at the bottom. Leek Town hosting Solihull Moors in 7th. Lincoln City are safe, but they could have an impact on the title as they host Loughborough Lightning. Northampton are at home to Notts County. Peterborough in 3rd face Leafield Athletic in 9th, and Sheffield in 11th take on Sporting Cowser, who are top of the table. Now, of course, Sporting Cowser will go there knowing a win will send them up. Sheffield are in a very good run of form as they attempt the Great Escape. They have, in the last 3 games, got 7 points out of 9 and really given themselves a chance. And because of Notts County's inferior goal difference, 1 more point could mean that Sheffield have pulled off what would be a miraculous escape. At the start of April, they were on 8 points. They were well out of it, and they have pulled themselves into contention for safety. So the bottom 4 teams are all in action against somebody else. So all four of those games have got something on it. Plus then the Loughborough-Lincoln game has something on it as well. So 5 out of the 6 in Division One Midlands, they are the ones we need to watch this weekend. In terms of who is most likely for Leafield Athletic to go down, you need 2 of Notts, Sheffield and Leek to win. A point for Leafield Athletic will more than likely be enough. And they're away at Peterborough. Sheffield are the only one, or Leek Town as well. Sheffield and Leek Town, the 2 teams in the relegation zone, are the ones who have got home ties. Arguably, because Solihull Moors are in 7th, Leek Town have got the easiest game. Then, Leek Town have got the easiest game. Then Sheffield are at home, but they're against the table-topping Sporting Cowser. Then you go, okay, Leek Town therefore have got the easiest. Notts County have got the 2nd easiest, but they're away at Northampton. Leafield have got 3rd place Peterborough. And then Sheffield have got Sporting Cowser. So if you go on terms of ease of fixtures, you would say Leek Town, but they have to win, unless, of course, they get something tonight against Peterborough. This is why it's slightly up in the air. And then Notts County, who you do feel needs something from that game because of their inferior goal difference. But it's going to be so interesting to watch. Both the champion and both relegation spots haven't been decided until the final day, which is exactly what we wanted for all the drama come Sunday afternoon. In the north, there are just 2 games in the north that you really need to watch for, and they are the games between Leeds United in 5th against Chester Street Town in 11th, and Middlesbrough in 2nd against York City in 10th. Now, Chester Street Town must win and hope York City lose, and they must overturn a 15-goal swing. So you're talking like an 8-0 win and a 7-0 loss. It's extremely unlikely, but with Hull having won the title, those are the 2 games you've got to look for in Division 1 North. Elsewhere, Barnsley against Doncaster Rovers Bells, Chorley against Durham Sestra, FC United of Manchester, who are already down, against Hull City, who are already up, and Norton Stockton Ancients against Stockport County. In South East, everything has already been decided here, with Wimbledon securing their promotion last week. So Wimbledon, they take on Actonians, Ashford Town against Norwich City, Cambridge City against Worthing, Cambridge United against Chesham United, Haywards Heath Town against London Seaward, and Queen's Park Rangers against AFC Sudbury. And then we will move into the interesting world of Division 1 South West. So, as it stands at time of recording, we have had no confirmation from anybody. I'll just have a look at and just check Abingdon that it's definitely off. Now, as I said, it was on full time up until yesterday morning, and then it just disappeared. And nobody's tweeted about it. The only thing that's happened is Abingdon men's team have said that Abingdon women have only got 1 to go, and they're supposed to have 2, which makes it sound as though that game's not happening anymore. But because we haven't had confirmation that it's not happening, I've left it on. Elsewhere in games that don't matter, Keynsham Town against Bridgewater United, Moneyfields against Abingdon, and Portishead Town against Chelsea on Sunday. 3 games in South West that matter. We'll start at the bottom. Torquay United against Swindon Town. Torquay must win that game to have a chance of surviving, and hope Southampton Women's against Maidenhead. Southampton Women lose that game. If Torquay win and Southampton Women lose, the goal difference is in Torquay's favour. They'll survive. Southampton Women's go down. Anything other than a win for Torquay, doesn't matter what happens at Test Park Sports Ground. If Southampton get a point or more, they're safe, doesn't matter what happens at Torquay. But the big one is Exeter City against AFC Bournemouth. Both teams unbeaten, 1 game to go at Essex Sports Park in Exeter. BBC are there, it's sold out. 2 points between the sides. If Bournemouth win, they're up. If Exeter prevent Bournemouth from winning, they're up. The fact you can go unbeaten and not get promoted is going to be mad. That's the possibility if they draw again, which they did. The only blemish on Exeter's perfect season is the draw with Bournemouth they had in the reverse fixture. So the possibility there, but Exeter, they missed out on goal difference last year. If they can get up this year, then great. But as I said, with the question from Mark, if you lose 3 games over 2 seasons and miss out on 2 promotions, that's how mad it is. So it's crazy, really. But that is the big game in Southwest, Exeter City against Bournemouth. And that will about do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. 1 round of fixtures left to go, and we will see come next week's show Thursday at 6 p.m. who's up, who's down. We may have other Tier 5 teams joining us in the FAWNL by that point as well, but there will be plenty to go through as we round up what has been a memorable season both on and off the pitch. Thank you very much for joining me for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. If you are going out for one last time this season at the weekend to go and support your team, have a super time. The weather looks as though it should be okay. And I'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. rounding up the season. But for now, goodbye.